The war in Ukraine can end during the year of 2025. Donald Trump is ready to meet Vladimir Putin and negotiate a peaceful settlement of the war in Ukraine. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is ready for a ceasefire in Ukraine. So what is known about current predictions on the end of the war in Ukraine during the year of 2025, and what did President Zelensky say in his interview with American podcaster Lex Friedman? So German newspaper Bild reported about the possibility of the end of the war in Ukraine during this year, the year of 2025. This prediction was made by the German government. This is one of the few scenarios which were considered to be possible by the German government. So there is a big thinking about the possibility that Vladimir Putin could end the war in Ukraine during this year. So according to the German government, there are some previous signs. There are some signs and indicators which indicate that Vladimir Putin sends messages, interesting messages to his inner audience, to his people inside Russia and to the Western audience, that he is ready to end the war in Ukraine this year because Russia's economy is struggling. Russia's economy is in a free fall right now because the interest rate is more than 20%. The growth of Russia's GDP has slowed down, was slowed down by Western sanctions. Moreover, the prices for food production is higher than ever since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. So Bild is confident that the war in Ukraine could end this year. Also, Kremlin does not know what Russia will do with those soldiers who will return home to Russia and how they can live in a peaceful country, in a peaceful world, and how could they be employed. So there are lots of scenarios which are considered by the Russian government, and Kremlin has begun to thinking how they will prepare Russian people to the end of the war against Ukraine. Also, it is also known that Russia will try to demonstrate that they have won the war against Ukraine by ending the war. So even if the war is ended by a ceasefire agreement, Russia and Vladimir Putin would try to convince Russian people that they have won the war. So that is a strategy that the Russian propaganda machine will try to convince Russian people that everything was fine and everything was according to Vladimir Putin's plan. And also it will be important for Putin to convince that everything was fine during this recent months, because Russian dictator Vladimir Putin has faced numerous setbacks in the recent months. Russian forces have withdrawn from Syria. There is a high unsustainable high casualties rate in Ukraine, and also Russian army has failed to liberate the Kursk region. Moreover, Ukrainian army this weekend has started another counteroffensive in the Kursk region, so Ukrainian army is on the offensive in the Kursk region again, despite Vladimir Putin's orders to liberate this region. So Russia effectively fails to liberate the Kursk region, and that's why Vladimir Putin wants the war to end, and he will present the end of the war, even if it would be disaster for Russia, he will present this as a victory. That's how his propaganda machine works. On the same time, there is another thinking about the possible settlement of the war in Ukraine. We have Donald Trump's plan to end the war in Ukraine, to freeze the front line, to establish a demilitarized zone, and to deploy European peacekeeping forces to Ukraine. On the other hand, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that he would be ready to end the war in Ukraine. He would be ready for a ceasefire if Donald Trump would provide Ukraine, would make two really important decisions. So according to President Zelensky, for the first time, Ukraine should receive bold, strong security guarantees in order to agree with Trump's proposal on a ceasefire. So Ukraine should join NATO, and the NATO Article 5 of the treaty should be activated should be used for those territories which are controlled by the Ukrainian government. This is the first term of the President Zelensky willingness to end the war in Ukraine. The second point of President Zelensky is that Ukraine should receive enough weapons to deter another Russia's attack in the future. So President Zelensky is open for a ceasefire in case if Trump provides Ukraine with membership in NATO and with bold security guarantees. So it will be really impossible for Ukraine to agree with a ceasefire if Donald Trump does not provide Ukraine with strong security guarantees, because in such case Russia will attack Ukraine again in the future and will use a ceasefire to regroup and to prepare for another attack against the Ukrainian forces again in the nearest future. Moreover, President Zelensky has proposed another idea. He plans to meet Donald Trump personally to reach out to him and try to prepare a plan how they can stop Vladimir Putin, how they can halt Russia's aggression. So another proposal for President Zelensky to Trump is to use $300 billion of the Russia's frozen assets located in Europe to fund security assistance, to fund the sending of weapons from America to Ukraine. So this is the plan of President Zelensky. That's why the big deal is that Donald Trump does not want to spend American taxpayers' money on Ukraine. That's why President Zelensky proposed him to spend on Ukraine Russian money, Russian frozen assets. $300 billion of Russian assets are frozen in Europe. And Donald Trump can use this money to fund Ukraine's war effort. Moreover, it would be beneficial for American economy because American production plants, military production plants and military industrial complex will receive another money funding, another flow of money, which will provide Americans with new jobs and will increase the tax spending, the tax revenues for the American money, for the American budget. That's why it would be really beneficial for the United States and its allies to support Ukraine for as long as it takes. Also, it would be important for Trump to put more pressure on Putin to blackmail him, to force him to negotiate with Ukraine a peaceful settlement of the war. In other case, he will continue this war and Donald Trump will not be able to meet his campaign trail obligations which he made during his campaign. Also, let's cover a recent article of Tony Blinken, his recent interview with the New York Times. Blinken said that he would be ready, he said that Ukraine would be ready to end the war and it is possible to reach a ceasefire only if Ukraine joins NATO. So Antony Blinken is confident that if Ukraine does not join NATO and if there is a ceasefire without any kind of security guarantees for Ukraine, then Russia will use this ceasefire to regroup, to prepare for another invasion of Ukraine. According to the Antony Blinken, it would be possible for Ukraine to reach a ceasefire if Ukraine is a member of NATO, if Ukraine is invited to join NATO, or if Ukraine is provided with another types of strong and bold security guarantees. If there are no membership in NATO for Ukraine, if there is no security guarantees for Ukraine, Russia will use this time to attack Ukraine again. Also, Donald Trump has to change his mind because previously he said that US will not provide Ukraine with security guarantees, American boots will not be deployed to Ukraine. However, it will be impossible for Ukraine to agree with ceasefire proposal if Trump does not provide Ukraine with strong and bold security guarantees. That's how he can end this war in Ukraine. Invite Ukraine to join NATO or provide strong security guarantees to Ukraine, which will deter Russia from attacking Ukraine again in the future. But stay with us on YouTube and we will cover the next developments and the results and expectations from the high-stakes Trump-Zelensky meeting, which could happen in the nearest future. That's all for today. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, stay with us on YouTube, and glory to Ukraine!